Chapter 15.4, the sampling distribution of the sample mean. There are two mathematical facts that we need to learn in this chapter. The first one is, what is the center of all the sample means? So we have a bunch of sample means. So where is the center located? The answer is very simple. The center of all these sample means is the population mean. Another way to say this is, center means mean, right? I mean, center, another term for that is mean or average. So the mean of all sample means is the population mean. Or another way to say this is, mean is another term for average. So the average of all your sample averages is the population average. Okay? So mathematically, that means that if we have a bunch of sample means, let's assume that we have, let's say, 2,000. All possible samples, 2,000 of them. If you average out these 2,000 sample means, what would you get? You would get back the population mean. This fact will come in very handy when we do our calculation. Okay, so this fact is pretty simple. Then the second fact is, what is the variation of all these sample means? So you have all these sample mean 1, sample mean 2, up to 2,000. What's the variation among them? Are they far off from the center or not? The answer is, so to measure variation, we basically use the concept of standard deviation. So we say the standard deviation of all these sample means is given by this formula, which is sigma divided by square root of n. Sigma is the population standard deviation, n is the sample size. So now, in other words, meaning that if you have many sample means here, sample mean 1, sample mean 2, okay, and the center of all these numbers is mu. You ask yourself, let's say I arbitrarily pick a sample mean I, whatever. Then I ask myself, on average, how far off is this sample mean from the center? Remember, center is mu, right? So the mu is the center. So you have all these numbers. You randomly pick a number, and you ask yourself, how far off this number is from the center? So this distance is given by this formula. Okay, now so let's go back to our previous slide. In this example, we assume that the population mean, meaning the center of this whole big group, is 25. If we take many samples, and you have many sample means, where's the center of all these sample means? That means you do a histogram, and the histogram is bell-shaped. Where is that midpoint? Where does it go? According to the theory, the center, meaning that the center of this sampling distribution, meaning the center of this histogram, is going to be at mu. So 25 is mu, and that's why this is the 25 is the midpoint, because of this mathematical fact. Okay. Next, let's assume that sigma is 7. That means, what is the variation of this big population? Let's assume it's 7. So then we can ask, what is the standard deviation of all our sample means? It's going to be given by the formula sigma divided by square root of n. So sigma is 7. Square root of n is square root of n is 10 sample size, because that is the number that we pick in this example. So this number, this value, is the standard deviation of all sample means, meaning that if you arbitrarily pick a sample mean, so there are many of them, you pick one of them, okay? And you ask yourself, on average, how far off that number is from the center The center is mu. So basically, you're asking how far off that sample mean is from the center on average. What is the average distance between an arbitrary sample mean and the center, which is the population mean? What is this average distance? This average distance is given by this number, 7 divided by square root of n.